Okay, yes.
Kate Ekman.
Eileen Flanagan, Alyssa.
Sarita Winthrop. Johanna de Ruyter.
Hello.
Eileen Flanagan. Alyssa. Linda Fern. Australia is coming in strong at 7 o'clock in the morning. Jennifer Barkman, Mark Coots, Christy Samios, Johanna de Ruyter. Yes, Fearless Force, Sydney and Brisbane in the house.
Davis has just entered the house and Jess Grippo.
Hello, Alison Davis and Jess Grippo and Barbara Senrick. That is a hat, Eileen Flanagan. That is a yes. It's going to take a couple minutes to settle in as we're having people come into the space. Amy Noel, Jen T. Grace, Deirdre.
Hello.
Deirdre's giving tropical beats over there. Yeah.
It's Cinco de Mayo. I'm getting ready.
Of course.
You have your Cinco de Mayo earrings.
I do.
Yes.
It took a few clicks to get in. Sometimes Eventbrite tricks you. Yeah.
It's a little tricky. I know it's a little tricky.
Right. Valerie, nice to see you with your flowers.
Valerie Lyons in the house.
Brown, Angie.
Tiffany Brown.
Hello, Tony.
Tony Dolce. Our videographer who's done every single New York City Fearless Force program since Fearless Force 4. Yes, Queen. Look at you with your Purple Critter Media background, giving all types of Purple Critter realness. Yes. So it's going to take us a couple minutes to allow people to arrive, and then we'll begin our programmed activities at 5:05 Eastern Standard Time. I'm very impressed by the Australians at 7 o'clock in the morning making it today. Yeah.
I made it. You've got the sun coming in through there, Marg, too. Here comes the sun.
The sun is coming in. You see that in your background, Jen Barkman. I think Deirdre just posted, what else would you be doing if it weren't quarantining on Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, where else would you be going?
Barbara Senator, you're giving us a beautiful background over there.
Hey, Deborah.
Your little rooftop. Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Nita Baum.
Hello, Eduardo. I like your mustard jacket over there.
It's a debut.
Yeah.
It was like a retail moment with J. Crew, which has declared bankruptcy. Hashtag no big deal.
I heard.
Very handsome.
And purchased a little. This was before they declared bankruptcy, but did a little.
Yeah, they have a good sale on.
70%. I mean, it was like insane.
Does that mean you're going from orange to bright mustard?
Absolutely not. I just don't have any. I need to put on the orange. I didn't have any orange.
There you go. Put it on.
Yeah, really. Come on. Yeah.
I didn't have any orange.
I like it. There. Find the flag.
I don't have any orange short sleeve clothes.
That works.
Oh,
that works. I got the orange.
Miami Beach. I love.
I like it. Now you're looking so much better.
Now I'm giving some like bandana realness on the forehead.
Very 80s, like John Hughes movie or something. I've got a feeling there.
I've got the vibe, you mean.
Yes, you do.
Wow, look at
Deborah, your lipstick is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a party day lipstick.
Fab. Loving it.
I'd kiss you all if I could. You know I would.
Okay, we have some more people coming in
Welcome,
now.
Jackie. Jeff Romano is with us.
Dr. Kelly,
Shay.
Shay.
Hello. Sarika's just dropped in too. Hi,
Yeah, we have
Sarika.
a bunch of people coming in now. So Flammenbaum from Tel Aviv, representing our Tel Aviv ladies. Yes.
Welcome, Serbi. So nice to see everybody. Hi, Jennifer. Hi.
Hello.
So hello, fearless ladies. Yes. So we will probably still have a couple people joining over the course of our time together. And before we begin, we have a tradition in Fearless Communicators to acknowledge our elder in the room, which is Sarita Winthrop. So Sarita Winthrop, welcome Elevated Sparkulation to you, Sarita Winthrop.
Thank you.
And as our elder, are we ready to begin?
We are definitely ready to begin. Thank you, Eduardo.
Yes. So in acknowledgement of our fabulous Australian community that is on our call today, there's this tradition that I learned in Australia, which is called an acknowledgement of country. So before we begin, I want to acknowledge that I am on Miccosukee land in Miami, Florida. And I would love a moment for those of you who know what indigenous land you are on to put that indigenous land in the chat box, right? And acknowledge where we are in relation to that. And in that moment, also acknowledge ancestors and elders past, present, and emerging. So Jen Barkman is on Turrbal land. Dr. Kelly Jennings is on Mohegan, Tagahanik, Sapasco, Lenape. Johanna is on Gadigal land. Jen T. Grace is on Podunk. Sarika is on Lenny Lenape, for those of you who are in New York City. And Emily Shane is on Lenape. Arapaho for Shay. And acknowledging how community and culture originated around a fire, telling stories, and acknowledging that tradition. So with that, I would like to pass it on to Deborah Driscoll, our Fearless co-facilitator, for a grounding. And before I do that, I met Deborah 4 years ago today on, 6 days before this, in Fearless Force 1. So the women who are from the first Fearless Force group, if you can kind of wave your hands, because there's some of you that are on this call. It's so amazing to have you with us. Deborah came to us, and when we spoke before she participated in the program, she shared, as many of you know, because you know her story, the truth about the loss of her son, and that this was the moment where she came out as a grieving mother, and acknowledging that May 5th is her son's birthday. So I want to acknowledge that today is Sage Driscoll's birthday. He is 18 years old, you know, and we are holding him in spirit with 18 red balloons, and just loving you so much right now, Deborah, in the way that you continue to show up for all of us in the various ways in which you are holding the space for your heart, the heart of your son, and all of our hearts as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Eduardo, and thank you, Fearless Force community. I must say, today is quite a day, but today is also now balanced with not only the loss, but also what I have gained. And today, in moments when I needed to find some ground, I found some ground in you, in that finding that the mother love that I have, some of that gets to be showered in your direction. And it is a great privilege and a great pleasure. And I am madly in love with all of you. And thank you for everybody who sent me love today, to me and to Sage. We receive it and we love you. And now as a community, we're going to do what Mama says to do, which is before we begin, we ground down together. And so today we have a special inspired by Fearless Force grounding. And so just wherever you are, just take a moment to just sink into your body and to sink into the physical feeling of where you are in space at the moment. And just allow that physical feeling to just get a little bit heavier and just to relax. And then just breathe into that relaxation. And to just to thank yourself for arriving in this moment to celebrate with this queen. We are so happy that you are here. So just staying connected to breath and remembering we all have an amazing Zorch. So we're breathing down into that Zorch and activating the fullness of our belly, the fullness of our orange sacral chakra where our creativity and all creation lives. And from that space of connecting to that orange center of amazing creativity, to your Zorch, you're going to now, with breath and with your amazing imagination, imagine in front of you a beautiful fire. Staying connected to breath and just imagining now your beautiful fire. You have stood with this fire before, you recognize it well. You know that this fire does not burn, but this fire does release what you do not need. You know this fire has served you, it has served many. And you know that we know this fire to be the fire of truth. And the fire of truth can take away all of the barriers to your truth. And the fire of truth is the fire of regeneration of your story. Standing now connected to breath and looking into the fire of truth and acknowledging that you have arrived here again. This is a safe place for you to be, for you have been here before on your own. You have been here before in community. And you know that whenever you need to, you can return to this place, the fire of truth. Taking in a big, deep breath, the biggest, deepest breath you've taken all day. And as you release on the out breath, you're adding your spirit to the fire. And today you have choice as you stand and be with the fire of truth. You can again walk through the fire and allow the fire to take away anything that is standing between you and your truth. You can choose to just sit and be in the company of the fire. Or you could choose to add something you no longer need to the fire so the fire can burn it away. Whatever it is that you need today, the fire of truth is here for you and is happy to receive whatever you have to give. Taking now another big, deep breath and making a commitment to the fire of truth. Walking through, sitting with, or gifting the fire, whatever it is that you need today. May the fire of truth always light your way. May the fire of truth always burn in your heart and in your belly. Welcome to the Fearless Force Turns 4 online bonanza birthday party! Welcome everybody to the moment of our fire. Yes!
Woo!
Yes. We can get a collective yas. Everyone can unmute themselves and say yas.
Yes!
So beautiful, Deborah. Thank you so much for grounding us on planet Earth. So today is really about all of you. And I am just so moved to see all of your faces. In a different context, we would have been in the middle of a Fearless Force program. We would have been in Fearless Force 21. I want to acknowledge that we have people on this call who are part of Fearless Force 19 in San Francisco, which was interrupted right before the women told their stories. So on the Wednesday night of the Fearless Force program, the city shut down all events and venues. The co-working space that we're working at said that they weren't going to able to do the program. We weren't able to do the event. So those women are kind of in the midst still of their program, and they'll have the longest prep time for their talk that any other group has ever had. So they have like a 4 or 5 month runway. Deborah realized maybe 3 weeks ago that that the 5th was the Fearless Force birthday party. And we kind of went into action to create this opportunity to gather as many of our alumni together as possible as an opportunity to celebrate them. And what happened last night is I actually paused. I'm not a pauser. I actually paused and I went back through 19 different folders that had all the images of all 19 Fearless Force programs. And in that I extracted what became like I wanted to post and have everyone on it. And I was just so moved by the way each and every single one of you have touched me. And just the privilege that we as an organization have had in holding the truth of your story and the opportunity to elevate that and share that with as many people as possible. We have now run 19 programs in 7 cities on 3 continents with over 100 women. And I'm also happy by my tabulations that we are 45% diverse in the women whose stories we have shared and told, which is a statistic that I am really, really fucking proud of. And really, it is all about who ultimately you get to be in service of the people who you are out to serve. So I always say, I don't think, like, it's not just you who we are, you know, in this moment dueling, but we are really in service of the hundreds of thousands of people who you have the privilege to touch in your work in the world. So as we have a moment, you know, and each person, which we're allowed, what we're going to do is each person, we'll have about a minute to 2 minutes max to share who they are, what they spoke about, and what their biggest breakthrough has been over the course since they spoke on the Fearless stage. And I'm still admitting people into our party here. I know that there are some people who have time limitations. You know, we've clocked the people who have that first little chunk. My request is that you message Deborah privately on the chat by what time you have to go so that we can create the space to share with you, right? So we have already we have 5 or 6 people that we know can only be here for the first half hour, right? So we're gonna acknowledge that. And then what we have is some little spotlight features from some of our Fearless alumni who are going to share a talent, some movement, a gift to kind of break up all of the sharings. And then I also want to acknowledge that we do have people here on the call who have not been a part of the Fearless Force program, but have been audience members and supporters and fans. I acknowledge Tony Dolce, who's been the videographer for all of our Fearless Force programs in New York City. I know Andrea Borcio-Ballin may be on at some point. She was our photographer for at least 6 of our Fearless Force programs. So knowing that our community ripples and acknowledging the space there, also acknowledging Emily Shane, our facilitator, Deborah Driscoll, facilitator, Ben Peltison, who facilitated number 1 and 5, will be on later. Linda Fern, who is on the call, who's our Fearless associate. She's also here joining us from California. Lori Fitzmaurice, who's been helping us in an operational capacity during COVID-19. And then also, I also want to acknowledge the presence of 2 Fearless Force alumna who are also advisory board members of Fearless Communicators, which are Nita Baum and Tiffany Brown. So with all of that in the context, what's going to happen is, and if you want to shout people out and celebrate them, we can use the chat to do that. And what Deborah's going to do is she's going to post the people and their order on the chat. Okay, so keep your eye on the chat because that'll tell you when you're going to go. And then Emily Shane is going to operate as kind of the timekeeper. So look at Emily. Emily, wave. Can everyone see Emily? Right? So she's going to let you know when you have a minute. Okay? And brevity is the soul of wit, and I don't want to be the man who cuts a woman off. Okay? So that's going to be horrible. Right? And completely antithetical to who I am. So with that, Deborah, we're going to post the first 5 in the chat. Okay, and Deborah's going to lead us off. Emily, are you ready to time? She's ready to time? Okay, great. So Deborah, take it away.
Hi, Deborah Lynn Driscoll from Circle One, New York City, back in 2016. When I met Fearless Force, I was standing in a place of needing to find my truth around being a grieving mother. And what I found within finding that was one of the blessings that my son gave me, which was to always believe in my impossible dreams. So when I spoke on the Fearless Force stage, I was talking about managing my new reality and my new heart as it was learning and growing. But I was also gifting the idea that we could all believe in our impossible dreams. And one of my impossible dreams has come true since being on the Fearless Force stage, because I, in January of this year, published my very first book, my memoir, A Series of Surrenders, which is an ode to love and grieving heart and impossible dreams, because I was the little girl who was journaling, wanting to write a book. I just didn't know what it was going to be about. And on the Fearless Force stage, I found structure and purpose and a container of where my story could be and the gift that it could be. And so many blessings to you, Eduardo, for creating Fearless Force. And I'm so glad to be a part of this community and to be your very proud stage mother.
Yes, elevated sparkleish. Up next is Deirdre.
Hello.
From San Francisco, who happens to be the only person to do a Fearless Force program by herself. Yeah.
Hey everyone. So I did my Fearless journey with Eduardo, and my story was about growing up in Dublin, Ireland, and being that rebel. So God love my parents. They had a tough time with me. I wasn't too crazy, but I was rebellious and wanted to spread my wings. I went on my journey via London and eventually Houston, Texas, and then out here to Silicon Valley. I'm in marketing. I fell in love with technology companies. I've done 6 startups, and I've sort of like essentially clawed my way up the ladder, rung by rung, doing it on my own, and not having a lot of mentors to help me along, but I figured it out. What I've learned is that I now work in an organization which is women-led. I love working with strong women, and I found that place, that home, with a new startup in San Francisco. And I'm doing more listening and less talking. I'm learning and growing and taking time out to look after myself. Thank you, Fearless community, and thank you, Eduardo.
And Deirdre, you're not alone. Look at all of the women that are in your circle.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for bringing me to the circle.
Up next is Barbara Senrick, Fearless Force 5, New York City. Yeah.
Hello. So great to be here. Amazing. Yes, Barbara Senrick, Circle 5. I started my journey and talking about my own story, how I was a lost soul in the corporate world, not honoring myself because I felt the need to fit in. And that really fueled my, I want to say, my life's work, that I now find, which is really, how can I be my best self? How can I bring that spark to work? And then how can we, with organizations, create corporate cultures and corporate environments that are more conducive for people to be their whole best self, and really acknowledge that and utilize that, because when we all can show up as who we are meant to be, that is so beneficial, not just for ourselves, but also for organizations. And yeah, so many breakthroughs. I will be forever grateful for Fearless Force, because it has started my journey of really like igniting my own spark to and to spark my own fire. And Deborah, I felt like you totally spoke to me, obviously, with the fire analogy. Beautiful. And I'm going to be sharing more on Thursday, if I can do a little commercial here.
Yes, absolutely. We'll definitely talk about that, Barbara. So we'll share that we have a Fearless Chat series, which will now be featuring our Fearless alumna. We'll go into greater detail, and Barbara is going to be the one kicking it off on Thursday about how we spark our fire. Okay?
Great.
So yes, Barbara.
Good.
Up next we have Nejla Lias, and it's from Fearless Force Hudson Valley. Yeah.
Hudson Valley, yay! It is really, sorry, of course, somebody can just go over there. Hi, everybody. I'm Nejla. I live in upstate New York. I run Global Health Visions, and had such an incredible time joining the Fearless Force that we did up here. I went into it saying I was never going to tell the one story that I promised would be deep down, and Eduardo and Deborah brought it out of me. So I told my story about how I got to where I am. And it was essentially about, how do you take the broken pieces of something and put it back together in a really strong way. And what I said was covered in gold. So it was stronger and more beautiful than it was before. And I talked about a personal thing that had happened to me that sort of broke me apart, and then a more global thing that happened to me that broke me apart. And in both of those circumstances, it really defined who I was and who I wanted to be in the world. And so I built my company, which is called Global Health Visions, and we do consulting for foundations and nonprofits on a whole host of issues. And we're a virtual company, work in many different countries. And that's who I am. I think you asked a question about what are you doing now, like what's come to me since that, and what's happening.
Breakthrough or anything that's shown.
A breakthrough. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I am using that power that I talked about in my speech in terms of thinking about, how do we come out of this current circumstance, and what do we build to be a stronger world, a stronger country. And I have like many ideas that are coming together, and I am loving that place that I spoke about in my speech. So thank you.
Awesome. Yes, Nejla. And then up next we have Marg Coots from Australia, Fearless Force 8, Sydney. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, cool. I thought I was on mute, but I wasn't all this time. So I live in a small town in Australia called Bellingen, which is about halfway between Sydney and Brisbane, if you know where both those cities are. And I spoke about my mother's death and how the process of her dying was very empowering for me, and very healing in my family relationships. And yeah, that's the essence of what I spoke about. And I guess I've been thinking about this breakthrough question, and I kind of feel like there's been loads, and there's lots of seeds have been planted since I did the Fearless Force. But I had a breakthrough a couple of days ago when I watched the start of my video recording, and I've only watched it twice before, and I've only shared it with one person because it completely freaked me out, and I just couldn't stand watching it. And a couple of days ago,
had that experience, I'm sure.
I started watching it and it felt good. So I started feeling like I can share it.
Yes, so beautiful. And then Chelsea Simpson, who's walking in
Hi,
New
folks.
Hi.
I'm walking. I'm in Massachusetts, so it's a little windy, so I'll be short. But I was part of Fearless Circle 1 with
Yes.
Eduardo and Jeff, the dearest soul in the world, and in New York. And so my story changed actually the day of, but it was about broken-hearted women and the power of the broken-hearted women have in their communities. And it was really about forgiveness, I think, underneath that. And it really had a sort of alchemical effect in transforming my relationship with my mom, who came to the show unexpectedly and helped me process some of our history in a way that felt really healing. So it was cool. Since then, a lot has changed. I left that job. I co-founded a company called the Emerging Leaders Project, and with a mission to equip, inspire, and transform the next generation of leadership. So we have the tools to do this inside-out work of collaboration and self-awareness to build teams that can survive in the unknown. So that's been pretty exciting. And the tools and what I learned and experienced with these beautiful women and with Eduardo has been the kind of energy and engine that's fueled this next iteration and will continue to. So I'm very grateful to have been able to be part of this beautiful community.
Yes. I just want to double click on that because people may not have gotten it. But Chelsea was going to give a speech, and then she was going to be speaking about something in specifically relationship with her mother. And her mother found out she was speaking and chose to surprise her and come down from Massachusetts.
Yeah, from Boston.
From Boston to see her talk. And it was not safe to then share that with her mother in the audience. So the day of, she changed her talk. So for all of you who've been through the process, imagine 3 hours before having to shift your whole talk and deliver. And it was one of the most beautiful moments of courage. And we always tell your story, Chelsea. So to have a person like on that, it's like, when people talk, we've had people who've changed, you were the one who definitely changed it at the last moment. But now that there's a face and a story to that. So elevates to you, Chelsea. Yes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of a break, and we're going to do a feature of one of our Fearless alumna, and it's Zoe Flammenbaum from Tel Aviv, and she's going to do a spoken word sharing for all of us. So we're just going to get ourselves situated. This was a little palate cleanse. I'm going to spotlight you, Zoe Flammenbaum. This is like the sorbet that we all want in this moment. Can we all see Zoe?
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And it's
so happy to be here.
It's 12:30 a.m. in Tel Aviv at this moment. So like lots of love and elevated sparkleish for you, Zoe, for like making it here to be with us. Yes.
Thank you. I feel energized just in this Zoom room. So should I just share my poem, or should I like
give a little
share
and then share your poem? So like share.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Cool. So I'm Zoe. I'm from New Jersey, is where I grew up, but I'm in Tel Aviv, Israel for the past 10 years. I don't remember what number I was. I feel like I was Fearless Force 6. With amazing women in Tel Aviv. My story was about basically a moment when I was super, super burned out, forced to kind of lie in a dark room for 2 weeks. And as soon as like my mind was kind of forced to shut down, my body started speaking to me. And I had just realized that I had really neglected taking care of my body or connecting with my body for most of my life. And I said, never again. And you'll hear my poem, which speaks to exactly what this story is about. And really since then, like just, I keep breaking through. My story is really all about, feeling unheard and unseen and small and unsafe to just be in my body. And my story and my breakthroughs are always just about like freeing my voice and igniting my voice, and that's the work that I do. And so yeah. So should I share? Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of New Jersey love that's happening in the chat right now. So I think the Jersey is strong in the Fearless Force.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep, Jersey. I'm from Atlantic City. So the good side, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna share this poem, and basically, really, this was like the first moment. This is the first time that I like volunteered to perform a poetry slam, and it was inspired by this art exhibit which was called Talking Vaginas, and it was happening in honor of the V, and I figured if vaginas be talking, then mine's got something to say, and I started a relationship with her, and 17 pages later we have a poem. So I'll share it with you in honor of all of the, I don't know, the female-bodied women, woman, whoever you are, the feminine aspects of our life. May we continue to rise up and feel empowered. Anyway, I asked her what she had to say. I hadn't listened before today. She's been with me through thick and thin. It's finally time to listen in. My dear Vijay, lips open wide, stands up right now to speak with pride. Her first words streaming out tonight. Here we go, V, it's your spotlight. Vagina is a dirty word, but why? Because what she makes you feel can make you fly? How can we cringe at her given name? It's time for a worldwide reframe. I mean, a pussy which scratches at your feet, a snatch to capture you when we meet, a bearded clam. Is that for real? Way to kill any ounce of sex appeal. A meat wallet might just be the best, the quickest way to keep her dressed. She's more than that. You have to know she deserves respect. She's a womanly chateau. She doesn't get why she's still seen as something so unfucking clean. What makes her feared? What gives you fright? The fact that she won't always be tight? She says it's time to loosen up, to feel her flow and let her erupt. Where has society fallen apart that we can barely talk about our most powerful body part? And maybe if we put her in a song, she'll finally feel like she belongs. Vagina, notorious VAG, because these lips are on fire. She's been silent now for way too long. She feels her power. She's growing strong. She's so used to blame and pain and shame. The way she's treated is fucking insane. Let's keep it real. Life is not porn. This is the spot from where you were born, the opening where you entered this earth. Remember that time your mom gave birth? She's tired of opening up to be let down. She's been through too much. She deserves a crown. She's ready to live her life openly, to set her sensational spirit free. No more lying down to deal with shtick. She's done giving in to senseless dicks. She has something she needs to vent. Why they think they can touch her without consent? 2 sets of lips and they don't hear her scream? Is her pure power causing this bad dream? She's been caught in many instances which feel 50 shades of gray. No right, no wrong, but all along he didn't pay attention to the no, she'd say. And though she fears the whispers of being called an angry feminist, maybe when she feels just 1 ounce of respect, she can give up on her quest. And of course she's angry. You would be too if you were looked at as a whole. Imagine living your entire life being just a fucking pole. This whole is just exhausted of being beaten with a stick. She'd much prefer a comforting hug or at least a loving lick. And on that note, I asked her what makes her grandest day. She says it's time to talk about the return of good foreplay. Because compared to his one upstanding head, she's got a red sea of pleasure inside her bed, flowing with depth toward the promised land. Her burning bush needs just one hand. She's the power center of every goddess queen. A million twilight zones remain unseen. A creative universe of pleasure flow to connect to the depths of wisdom we already know. Dripping deep in holy and sacred space, she's the secret garden to the human race. So nurture all the space between your legs and the nest which cares for all your eggs. She knows that she is the center of the earth. And so is yours, women and girls. It's time for our rebirth. I asked mine what she had to say. Now she won't shut up. She's ready to play. Thrust into the spotlight. It's time to shine. Say hello to your divine feminine shrine. She is not a whole. She is a whole woman. She is a whole world. Respect her. Every single one of her sacred drips. And don't forget to always kiss her goodnight on the lips. Thank you.
Yes! Oh my God. I think this needs a collective yes. If you want to unmute yourselves on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
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 Amazing. Awesome.
So, blown away. I just muted myself. That's what happened. I got so excited I muted myself. So Zoe, I know it's 12:42. Do you know what I mean? A.m. in Israel. So I know you will join us for as long as you can. Zoe in her talk talked about the silencing of her lips, you know, and it was her vagina, it was her throat, and it was also her lips. And there was a series of spoken words that came through that. So I want you to know that when we were doing this, I knew that I wanted you to share this with our community. And I'm so grateful that you said yes, and you stood up, you stayed up as late as you did to be present with us. Zoe is also part of the 4 fearless women who will be doing the next Fearless Chat series. She's going to do the 4th one around Shine. She runs something called School of Shine in Tel Aviv. So more about that later, but now you guys know Zoe. So Elevated Sparkleish, yes. And I think people want copies of the poem. So if you can send that to us, you know, we'll make sure to distribute it and share that as well. We're gonna now move, Deb, can you post again the next group of women? We're gonna do the next group of women. So we are going to, no, the first one.
No, I was just looking, but it's hard to.
I know it's hard to scroll.
I can find.
So much yes happening with the New Jersey. So okay, so we're gonna start with Jennifer Barkman in Australia. So Jennifer Barkman, Fearless Force Brisbane.
Yay. So hi, my talk was about my self-critic, my journey with my self-critic through my life, and she's still with me right now. And yes, and how I at times find a gentler place with her, and at times I don't. But she's assisted me to create safe spaces for people to share their story. And I guess the breakthrough has been just keeping going. And I was in a point when I was quite stuck and felt I didn't have much purpose. So since then, I've just kept going, doing my workshops, and I started Women Transforming Leadership with a colleague and some ancestral story. I'm really interested in the impact of our family story, and I'm at the moment exploring the critic in my my family's life through my mother's. So that's an interesting exploration, and bringing some of the things I love to Campfire and shared leadership programs. So yeah, so it was a great experience, and thank you.
Thank you, Jen Barkman. Next is Amy Noel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Noel. Yeah, so let's see. Professionally, I manage employee benefits for a large company. We have 30,000 employees worldwide. I have a nonprofit in Uganda that I feed about 80 kids on a daily basis to make sure that they have opportunities for education and getting them out of poverty. And then I also run a networking group. I have a great family life. And needless to say, my talk was then on how I get shit done. So we came up with this whole concept of a shit sheet and took everyone through the process for how to get shit done. It was definitely not exactly the way in which I had envisioned going into the the Fearless Force experience. Like, I never expected how the story would evolve, but I ended up talking about a llama cake that I made for my niece's birthday. So, all of the different shit that needed to get done in order to make her a llama cake. So it was an awesome experience. I would say the biggest breakthrough, I've certainly had many professional, personally, and everything, but probably the biggest breakthrough, thanks to Jen Grace's program, able to get the first draft of my book done. And that was done, inside of her 14-week program. So that was a really cool thing. And now looking at starting the editing process, which is really exciting.
Yes. And Amy, I just wanted to give some space. I just want to acknowledge that, in this event, just the generosity of this, we knew that we wanted to use this space as a space of also contribution, like we are a space of service, and that's one of my commitments. And I knew immediately that we wanted to support two of the nonprofits that are connected to the women in our community. And we immediately knew that we wanted to do this for Girls on Fire Leaders with Eileen Flanagan, and also Lend a Hand Uganda. So I just wanted to, so we've raised over $1,000 for collectively.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Amazing. So I just wanted to create just a little moment for you to share a little bit about the work that you do for Lend a Hand Uganda, and so people know where their contribution is going.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you so much for that time. And thank you, everyone, for your incredible generosity. That's just amazing. So as I mentioned, I feed about 80 kids now. We have a goal to get that up to about 100 by the end of the month, and this will certainly go a long way towards that goal. But we feed kids a lunch, and that is normally their incentive to actually come to school. Currently, schools in Uganda are closed on quarantine lockdown at the moment, but normally we invite kids to come to school with the promise of feeding them lunch. And that is quite honestly the only way in which, just because the parents there are uneducated and, basically say to us, well, why should I send my kid to school? I didn't go to school, so why do they need to, right? But they understand the hunger that they have, and they only eat one meal a day. So by offering a second meal during the day, the kids actually show up to school, and then they have an opportunity to learn. And that's what we think will break the cycle of poverty. Right now, what we're doing is every 2 weeks going and delivering care packages to each of our families so that they continue to have something to eat on a daily basis until we get back to in-person schooling. They are currently learning on radios that are battery powered. We don't have this concept of Zoom because many of the villages in which we work don't have electricity. So it costs us only $17 to feed a child for a whole entire month. So, multiply that out with your generosity. I'm going to be able to help a lot of kids for a lot of months. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amy Noel. Up next, we have Jennifer Ianolo, Fearless Force 1, New York City. Jen, you're on mute.
I know, I do know how to work this thing, but I am Cinco de Mayoing, so arriba.
Azúcar.
Yeah, I should have remembered that. God. So I walked into Fearless Force One. I had been traveling the world talking to women, talking about entrepreneurship, and I felt this gap between what I was talking about and sort of a personal connection. And, you know, part of my story comes from my origin story with my mother and my grandmothers and these really incredibly fierce women who really formed my entire outlook on the world and all of the work that I do with women. So, so we really worked through that during that Fearless Force weekend. And I came out of it with a speech that now, I mean, my mother has gotten standing ovations in Greece. She has fans in Finland. You know, she really got to travel the world with me. And very sadly, she passed away in November. And this talk enables me to continue to honor her wherever I go and whatever I do. And the talk turned into a manifesto, which has now gone around the world that women are downloading and reading, and it's pretty incredible. So, you know, she's been a little bit of everywhere with me. So it's been really special. And now I have a global incubator for women from 17 countries on 6 continents. And our goal is to have all 7 continents represented. Everything that we do, the mentors, the participants, the guest speakers are all women from around the world. So it's been a pretty extraordinary experience, and we're finishing our first cohort right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Allison Davis. Fearless 18, New York City.
18. Recent. Hi, everyone. Oh my God, this is overwhelming and wonderful. Thank you, Deb and Eduardo. Oh Lord, the waterworks are coming already. So my talk was about imposter syndrome. It was something that I definitely didn't feel ready to talk about yet, and but I did under Eduardo and Deb's tutelage and love, and I'm so glad that I did, because I think that I have come so much farther than I ever thought I could in such a short amount of time in terms of feeling more embodied and helping people and serving people. Oh boy. It's clearly still very alive in me. What I do for work is I help entrepreneurs and small business owners with sales. I'm a sales coach and trainer, and showing up and sort of pretending to be all I could be and having so much self-doubt behind the scenes. I really resonate with what Jen Barkman was saying. I wonder if there's some similarities. But now I show up, and for those who can relate, I share my talk with them, and I just share my truth. I show them that fire. And if they need to walk through it too, we can. I name my imposter Patricia, and we name theirs too. And one new thing that has come out of this is I actually do the strengths assessment with my clients so that we can focus on what we know we do really well and bring that into the business that we're creating. So we're focusing on what we know to be true. So thank you.
Yes. And up next, also from Fearless Force One, Sarika Jane Patel and baby.
Hi, everyone. I'm currently in New Jersey for the quarantine. And my talk was about self-doubt as well. I'm a love and relationship coach, and before, when 5 years ago, I'd had a miscarriage. I just didn't know if I could be a mom. I didn't know if I could have my own business. I didn't know if I don't know. I just had so much self-doubt going on. And Eduardo helped me get present to that. And I gave a talk in which I shared about how I had to love myself, and in order to find that power within me to overcome my self-doubt. And so it was about self-love. And I remember at the end of the speech, I talked about how I was on a beach and I did a whole marrying myself ceremony, which was really fun to remember. And my latest breakthrough has been just being a mindful and amazing mom to 2 little ones, and having my coaching practice, and also writing a book. So since the starting of this year, I've written like 400 pages in a book, and just whatever free moments I get, I write. And so, and I'm not letting my inner critic get in the way. I'm just writing whatever's coming up. So yeah, it's so great to be here to celebrate with you all.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes. And then up next, we have Stephanie Cruz. Stephanie Cruz, Fearless Force 5, New York. Is Steph Cruz on? We may have lost her.
Maybe she needed to.
Oh, she's here. She's
off.
here. I see her.
She's
hear
right
me?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
Do you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be joining you all. I am in Arlington, Virginia, and I kidnapped my family from New York. So they're here in Virginia. So if you hear them yelling, they're Dominican and they're really loud and they're cooking in the background. But yes, for being together with the people we love right now. So I was part of Circle 5, and my Fearless talk was about being a brown girl who has been underestimated by society throughout most of my life, and people making assumptions about me based on what they see, and getting to that moment where I realized that I actually have options and that I have as much value and to bring to a situation as a job might. I might be excited to get a job, but they need to be just as excited to have me because I have value. And it's really the kickoff of a longer story and journey where I want to make sure that all young women are growing up to understand that we are welcome to take up our space, and that when we go into places that we have choices. We don't have to just accept what's given to us. I think my latest breakthrough has been walking away from a pretty toxic work situation and starting my own consulting practice over the past year. So that was very exciting. And then even more exciting was shutting down that consulting practice to take 3 months off, to be present with my family, to listen to my grandma, to just take care of my health and my well-being and to prioritize that, and to re-enter work in my life with a different set of values that prioritize my well-being. So super grateful to be sharing in space with you all. I am gonna jump off a little bit early, but I've loved all of the stories so far. And every time someone talks, I'm like, oh, I want to talk to that person and I want to connect with her. So I look forward to Eduardo figuring out how we can continue to be connected.
We will create that. Stephanie, before you get off, I just want everyone to just take a moment. Stephanie Cruz is the person who managed the social media for the March for Our Lives and for the Women's March in Washington, D.C. So in the various ways that we were in connection to that movement, right? Stephanie was in the room where it happened. So super love to you and the ways in which you ensured that those rooms were all dominated and held by women of color, and ensuring that those women were not excluded from being a part of that conversation. So super acknowledgement to you, Stephanie Cruz.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Okay, so up next we have Surabhi Lal, Fearless Force 18.
Hello. What a delightful way to start a Tuesday evening, if that's what day it is, for those of you keeping track. My talk was on being an only and the tension between being only and the feeling of belonging, and how out of that for me came advocacy. It came a sense of standing up for what's right and a sense of empathy, and that we can take that vulnerability and that feeling and use it to guide the actions that we take. And for me, Fearless was really around getting the story out that I knew I wanted to get out and needed to get out of my head, and being able to bring a different context to talking about belonging and what that means from my perspective, that and a story that is universal. So it has been, I think, an amazing 3 months, 4 months since that's happened. And I can really see all of the places where that tension between onlyness and belonging comes up for me.
Yes. I also want to acknowledge Serbi wears many hats, and there are many things that how Serbi shows up in service. And I want to acknowledge that through Serbi, we've found our most recent partnership, which is with a co-working space called Luminary in New York City, which is a co-working space specifically for women and women-led businesses. And just wanted to be and express my gratitude for that partnership and that creation. We were housed before at the Center for Social Innovation. That's where our first program was. We also had venues there, and there are people who are part or have been a part of that space. So I just wanted to acknowledge both of those places as homes for us. So we are at the 6 o'clock mark, which means it's time to do a little movement. So I'm gonna move it on to Jess Grippo. Now we're going to feature Jess Grippo. Jess Grippo, we're going to feature you now, and then we're just going to get into our bodies a little bit and shake some things up a little bit. I'm going to do a little spotlight video. Okay, Jess. So,
thank you. This has been amazing. I'm so inspired by each of you, and thank you, Eduardo, for it's just incredible what you've built. So I'm Jess. Before I was a Fearless Force participant, some of you have seen me, I was leading dance breaks in between the different events. And I did that for a while, and then finally it came time and I did my talk, and it was a huge breakthrough for me in going deeper and talking about my body and my sexuality and a whole bunch of things. But I'm going to move on to something a little bit more entertaining and exciting, which is all connected. This actually was a part of my talk. I got people up with me doing a dance, an interpretive dance through the different phases of the menstrual cycle. So I'm going to invite y'all to stand up with me. And I'm just going to move to gallery view so I could see you guys. Okay. So this was originally a performance piece, part of a one-woman show that I was working on, and it ended up being integrated into my talk. So what I'm going to share with you is part dance break, part story, and I'm just going to test my music. So do you guys hear that? And you can hear me talking over it as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good enough. Yeah.
Okay, great. So welcome to Hungry Ovaries, which is the name of this dance. And we're gonna start from the beginning of the cycle. There's a lot of debates on what is actually the beginning of the cycle. I'm gonna start with the follicular phase. So here we go. We're gonna start to locate where our ovaries might live. And we're going to do the dance of the follicular phase, which is the growing of the follicles, the rising of estrogen, to allow those follicles to grow and expand. Yes, that's right. So give me a reach. And then other side. Good. This is the phase where and I just bled out of my vagina for 5 days and survived. It's a time for celebration. And as estrogen rises, it's going to hit a crescendo. Hey Siri, text that guy I said I'd never text again. Peach emoji, eggplant emoji, spoon emoji, question mark. We're moving into ovulation. Let me see your ovulation dance. Ovulation is that moment when the egg drops. But it's not just the egg dropping. Let me see your best egg drop, you guys. Drop it down low. Drop that egg. Drop that egg. Drop that egg. Yes. So 3 to 4 days leading up to ovulation. This is when things get juicy. Get juicy with yourself. And because it's so juicy, it can be a slightly dangerous phase, but luckily it's the shortest phase there is. Before long, it's time to switch it up. We're moving into the luteal phase, AKA PMS, AKA don't touch me, don't talk to me right now, because I'm getting into my feelings. Let's stomp our feet on the floor. Let's get into those emotions that we might not be able to let out all the time. This is when progesterone is rising. And when progesterone is high in my body, I'm gonna get a little angry. Let me see you get angry. Let me see you release some of the pent up energy. Shaking it out. Even more, let me see even more. I love it, yeah, even more. Raise hell like the song says. I'm gonna keep this going a little longer, you know why? This is the longest of them all. This is the longest phase of them all. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the luteal phase. And finally, just when you think you can't take it anymore, something else is getting ready to drop. And this time, it's the uterine lining. Join me in the menstruation dance. We're going to Martha-gram our periods. Contract. Inward time. This is time to go inside. This is time to reconnect to yourself. If it's a bad period, I'll be curled up in fetal position, unable to move. Let me see you curl up. If it's a good period, I'll still be curled up in fetal position. Only I'll be able to journal. Let me see your journaling menstrual moments. Journal the hell out of it. Journal it. Letting it go. Letting it all go. Lovely. So keep those movements going. And we're gonna close it up here. I could keep going because this is a cycle and we're getting ready to start this shit all over again pretty soon. But for now, I invite you to find an ending pose that connects you into your own body, whatever the cycle is that you are currently in your life or in your body. And I just wanna give a wish for us all that with every cycle we go through, we become a little bit more understanding of our bodies and what they go through, a little bit wiser with the choices we make. And for me, a little bit more strong to pick up that phone and say, hey Siri, delete the number of that guy I said I'd never text again, because me and these ovaries, we're over it, period.
Yes! Elevated sparkalation. Okay, hold on, let me do this. So if there is anything, if you want to share in the chat your experience of that, anything that you felt, I feel like as a cisgender gay man, I had no relationship to vagina or ovaries or the period ever until Jess's interpretive dance. I felt so much empathy. So, so thank you, Jess, for bringing such joy and creativity and fun and play. And I wasn't able to see everybody, but I felt like a lot of people were moving and dancing to the menstrual cycle. And I will never think of deep journaling like I do with you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next, we're gonna continue with our Fearless Ladies with Dr. Kelly, Fearless Force, Hudson Valley.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you, Jess. You really shifted the mood for me. I am really moved by each and every one of the share that I've heard so far. I'm up here in the Hudson Valley. I took part in Fearless 416, was it? In the Hudson Valley. And my sharing was about the gift of desperation and how trauma and crisis in my life became the pivot point around which I really got to know myself. And I got to learn things that I feel like I should have gotten somewhere earlier on in my life, but somehow it just happened all right there in that period of time in my life. And what I noticed right after that beautiful experience with you, Eduardo and Deborah and the other 5 women, was that I felt liberated from my story in a way that I hadn't expected. And consequently, I have started a podcast. So I'm an integrative healthcare practitioner. I've had a practice, integrative holistic healthcare practice for 13 years. And then I had also been leading transformational medicine retreats. And now I have just launched a podcast. In fact, Eduardo was my second guest on my podcast. And it's really about the stories that we have and the stories of our lives and how our stories can be medicine for the world. So I'll leave it there. I'm so grateful to be here. I didn't think I'd be so touched by being on the screen with all of you. And so I'm very grateful. Thank you. You're muted.
I was muted. I was totally speaking into space. So up next we have Eileen Vasquez Thornton, Fearless Force 12, New York. Eileen. Is Eileen here? Oh, there you are. Yes.
You.
There we go.
Thank you. Jess, I was so totally feeling that. And for Cinco de Mayo, to all of you. I'm Eileen Vasquez Thornton, and I am a banker who is just emerging out of PPP loan purgatory. But it is my great desire to serve in the business community and help every single business owner that I touch. When I came to Fearless Force, I talked about being the good daughter, the good mother, and the good wife, and recognizing that I needed to get real, that I needed to see what was no longer serving me and tune into my own desires and create my own life. And here, I can say that, you know, I've had a fear. As much as I've been in the corporate world, I've always shied away from having a voice in a meeting, in a conference room, at events. And now I am the go-to person at the bank for any speaking engagement, because whatever message there is, I just let it sink in and I speak from the heart. And that's what people hear. And I don't think I would have been able to have done that had I not encountered this program and received the support of Deb and Eduardo. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eileen. And one of the best lines in the Fearless Force, I'm done with being good. This shit's about to get real. Yes! Okay, up next we have Jenny Nelson, Fearless Force 3, New York City.
Hi, everyone. Wow, this is really a joy. I wasn't expecting the poem or the dance to affect me so much, or being with all of you, but it really is so beautiful. So thank you. I spoke at my Fearless Force about being a teacher in New York City and becoming a coach, and how important coaching is for teachers and educators. And since I spoke about that, I moved out of the city, had an opportunity to move up to the Hudson Valley, and I have assumed the role as a director at a private independent school that's really nature-based and Waldorf inspired. And it's been a bit of a 180 from my original classroom experience, but there have been a lot of breakthroughs for me in this time. In particular, like learning to work inside of things that I actually really care about, but are not maybe pragmatically easy to accomplish in a group, like compassion and transparency and consensus and everyone having a voice, and doing things ethically. And I have had many breakthroughs personally and professionally, but I want to share around abundance today that inside of doing 21-day abundance meditation, since COVID-19, I've actually worked with people in my organization to fundraise over $347,000 for the school. And it's pretty great. I feel very grateful, and it's inside of communication and manifesting that I got in Fearless Force.
Yes. I also want to acknowledge that Fearless Force 3, which Jenny Nelson was a part of, with Lena Nasser, Orly Amore, and Charles Curry, is where Elevated Sparklation was born. So that was the circle in the room where Elevated Sparklation, because this came from the classroom, and then we came up with Elevated Sparklation. So that has been all over the world. And Eileen Flanagan will speak later. The young girls in Kenya are elevated sparkulating. So get that you were at the root of that conversation. Up next, we have Valerie Lyons.
Hi, everybody. Wow, what a energy, you know? Love the poem, love the dance. I shared, it brought me to tears because I haven't had a period in over, I don't know how many, I'm 59, I think it's like 10 years, and I hadn't grieved yet. So I'm like crying. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Excuse my language. Where's that coming from? But anyway,
you can drop the F-bomb. It's totally fine.
Yeah. It's the thing that you hold, you know, that you don't even know it's there. And that's what I got out of the program with Eduardo and Deborah, the story of a young Black girl, dark skinned, flat chested, who really didn't feel good about herself, you know, and how through my life, there was always folks that loved me and supported me. And so this power networker, you know, was born out of community support and love. And that's the story that I spoke about. And it was, let me just share this with you. So I was wearing a funky fro, right? When I was practicing my speech in front of Eduardo, I had a funky fro. And Eduardo said, take your wig off. I snatched the wig off, and my presentation was so different. It was so authentic. So I have pictures of myself in a funky fro and those with my head shaved, but it was very empowering. And out of that, so many breakthroughs, one being a relationship with a man that it's been over a year, and I don't know where it's going, but it's been a lot of fun after being married for like 23 years and not really knowing if that was possible. But the self-expression that came out of this experience had me be bold. Go online and get a love coach and meet somebody. And at the time, you know, we're going through something now, but you know what, it's all good because I know it's possible. And so it was really, really great. So I'm just loving being in the space, and thank you. Thank you. Yay.
Yes. Up next, we have Chrissy Samios from Brisbane, although not Brisbane. You were in the Brisbane program, but you don't live in Brisbane.
Hi everyone, I'm Chrissy Samios, or now I'm known as Christina Leone because I've distanced myself from my ex-husband's married name. So I live in Newcastle, which is near Sydney, but I was in the Brisbane Fearless Force in 2018, and my story began when I was sitting in a counsellor's office, and I'd been stressed and talking agitatedly for over an hour, and at the end of the hour, the counsellor said to me, if you went out to dinner and you ordered pizza and the pizza came to your table and it was cold, you would eat that cold pizza. So I took this very simple analogy home and I began to investigate my life, my whole life, and everything in it by, am I being served cold pizza here? And it turned out I was being served quite a lot of cold pizza, and particularly in my relationship. And I divided that cold pizza into 3 areas, emotional, financial, and sexual. And so, and just for the benefit of the women's 4 stuff that we're doing here, even in my speech, I had a hot pizza orgasm. Yes!
Yeah.
So after that, after doing the speech, my breakthrough has been in 2019. The hot pizza business was born, and the hot pizza business is the speech. It's workshops to help empower women to stop accepting less than they deserve, to get the hot pizza life that they deserve in all sorts of ways, their relationships and work. And the biggest, I guess, joy is to hear from my beloved Eduardo and Deb and other people that I've shared that story with, is that the cold and hot pizza concept has walked the world and helped other people to make decisions in their life and relationships so that they stop accepting cold pizza. So one other thing is I've started writing the hot pizza book, and I don't know, I think the hot pizza thing's become a bit of a philosophy. So
yeah.
exciting.
And just so you know, Chrissy, after your program, everyone knows the hot pizza story, right? So they're like, this is finally the hot pizza this is the hot pizza woman. Yes. Up next, we have our elder, Sarita Winthrop. Sarita, you're muted, honey.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I could never have done it without Eduardo, Deb, and Emily, but it was actually even fun that night. What I did was talk about my struggle with the skin disorder of eczema that I've had my whole life. And I used the structure with Eduardo's idea, body, mind, spirit. And I talked to a woman who I know ever so slightly, who's the head of the National Eczema Association. And she said, well, can I see the video? And I said, yes. She looked at it and she said, can I show it to my team? And then a woman from the team called me last week and said, may I interview you because I want to write up your story to share on the internet with people involved with the National Eczema Association. So that was a big deal. But even bigger is a combination of what so many of you have already said. The boost to my self-esteem, thanks to Jen Grace and her wonderful program. I didn't have the guts when I sat next to her at the dinner Saturday night to say, Jen, I really want to do this. I didn't. I just said I had a friend who was interested. But anyway, later, I am now halfway through that 14-week class and am working towards writing my story about healing. And the most important piece of it, well, 2 minutes yet? I wasn't even looking to find out. Anyway, that part of what has healed me are my female friendships over my life. And I now have a companion that lives with me who's from St. Lucia, and she provides unconditional love that I clearly was parched and needed badly. Eduardo had me say at the end of my talk, I want to give mother love to all of you. And so many people have talked about that with me. And so I'm feeling really blessed. So it's a huge, huge good thing in my life. So thank you all so much.
And Sarita, how's your skin, honey?
don't see any eczema, don't feel it. Really unbelievable. So very, very happy. Thank you.
Up next, we have Kate Ekman. Kate Ekman.
Hi, beautiful fearless leaders. All of you. Hi. I spoke about the Full Spirit Workout, which is a workout for your spirit that will help you get fit on the inside. So just like we have to go to the gym to exercise our physical muscles to combat gravity, I'm talking about working our attitudinal, emotional, mental muscles to fight against emotional gravity like fear, insecurity, self-doubt, COVID-19, anything that weighs us down. So it's more important than ever, everything we're experiencing, and having this time to really go from within and build that strong musculature at our core that can really withstand any storm. And I think now we're being tested, at least I am personally, more than ever. And I had my wake-up call several years ago when I lost my ex-boyfriend and a best friend to suicide in the same year, and all of that brought up in me, and having to face a lot of crap that was getting in my own way. So it's a joy to write. I'm now writing the Full Spirit Workout. I'm on chapter 7 of 10. I just wrote 6 chapters somehow in a month. It's flowing out, and it's my joy to bring it to everyone next spring. It's being published by a dream publisher, New World Library, who did one of my all-time favorite books, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So I just feel like it's such a divine thing, because I got several no's before I got a yes, and would look up at the angels who I am writing this book for, and I'm like, what's up, dude? And just exercising the power of surrender, that moment of literally giving it up as an act of faith. And when I did that, not just intellectually, but did that in my body, and did the Full Spirit Workout on myself, I got a book deal within weeks. So it just really, it's like the gym. It works if you do. Like, no one can do the abs for you. No one can lift the weights for you. You have to do the work, but then you get that really toned spirit, and it's kind of saved my life. So I find I'm happiest in quarantine. I've been by myself for 2 months. I'm happiest when I'm writing, and I'm so happy to hear others are writing. And I encourage you to journal, even if you're like, I'm not a writer, I can't write. Sit down and write about what you're feeling. And for me, the forward of my book was talking about the freaking meltdown I was having, being and feeling so alone, so uncomfortable in this discomfort of grief. So love you all. Thanks for listening and sharing, and the elevated sparklation. I'm giving everyone a massive hug. And I love you all. Thank you, Deb and Eduardo, for creating such a beautiful community.
Yes. Up next, we have Jen T. Grace, who we have been hearing about. So Jen T. Grace, yes, queen.
Thank you. So my Fearless talk was Circle 12, and it was this time last year that I think it was the Saturday of our program. So the anniversary will be in the coming days. It has taken me a solid year to be comfortable with sharing my video, which I'm almost at. My talk was around a 10-year battle within the mental health institution and the system that is very, very broken, and the end result of having to give my child up for adoption. And it was the first time I had publicly talked about this, and it's not the story that I came in wanting to tell, but Eduardo, within like 3 minutes, was like, nope, that's not the story. So I committed to surrendering to the process going into it, as much as I'm more of a control freak. So the unexpected result from all of this is that when I went into it, I had absolutely no intention of publishing my memoir until my son turned 18. He is 11, and my memoir will be out next month. So that was not part of my plan, but that's what the plan was that I guess unfolded for me. So that's it.
And I just want to acknowledge, so Jen is one of the most generous entrepreneurs that I know, a real commitment to diverse authors and those stories. She and I are both part of the National Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and have worked with the New York NGLCC together. And she and Deb are holding space for all our Fearless Force women who want to be authors. So there's a group of all our fearless women who want to be authors. And then there's also, for those who've already written, there's another group that's all about marketing your stuff. So if you want information around that, please reach out to Deborah, and then she'll coordinate that on your behalf so you can be a part of that, okay? Okay, so up next, oh my gosh, we have Tiffany Brown. Yas queen.
Hi everyone. I'm just so emotional listening to all of these beautiful stories. So I wasn't even planning to talk about what led me to Eduardo, but I think it's important to kind of know sort of how I found all of you all, because you are truly a gift to a lot of prayers. I was probably depressed, suffering from chronic depression for about 4 or 5 years, and was really just moving through my life. And I felt like a passenger in my own life. And I kept really asking the universe, I kept asking God to just kind of release me and to help me sort of find myself. And as a result, he brought me all of you. So much of what I have gained is really the ability to sort of voice my feelings, to sort of share my experiences. Many of them involve my work. I have forever been, similar to Eileen, sort of the dutiful daughter, the dutiful sister, the dutiful employee. And I just couldn't find myself through that. And now I have found her. And I now have found a way to express it in color and to speak with people about it, to speak about the freedom that I have found. My talk led me to talk about my leaving my employer after finding out that I was being underpaid. And it just has led me to not want to remain silent. And so part of this journey has been to really even acknowledge the areas in which I have exhibited strength throughout all of my life. Like, it's always been there. I think I just needed to acknowledge it. And so that's really been what I have been grounded in now, is just sort of speaking about those moments. And I guess lastly, I would say that part of what I'm going to continue to do is just talk about my career transitions and the shifts that I have made throughout my life, and just take ownership and pride in them. So I just thank all of you all so much for being with me through this process.
Yes. Oh my God, Tiffany, please read the chats, because you're getting so much love right now. Can we all shower her with some elevated sparkulation, everyone? Thank you for your vulnerability and your truth. So we have now met the 4 women who are leading the next 4 Fearless Chats, which we're calling Spark, Shift, Ship, and Shine. And it's all about the big ideas that we have that are maybe born through this stillness, how we're looking to possibly shift and pivot, then how we want to get shit done, and then how we want to bring shine to that. And those 4 women are Barbara Senrick from Fearless Force 5. Then we're going to do Shift with Tiffany Brown, Fearless Force 13. Then we're going to do Shit with Amy Noel, also Fearless Force 13. And then Shine, Zoe Flammenbaum, Fearless Force 6. Those are totally free. Those are open to the community. You're going to get notifications around all of that. But now we've met those 4 women. We're going to take a moment now. We're going to do a little bit of physical energetic shift. I'm going to introduce Johanna de Ruyter, who is from our Sydney cohort. She's also someone who's training to facilitate the Fearless Force program in Sydney, Australia. So Johanna de Ruyter, I'm going to put a little flash on you here. and we're gonna get into our bodies a little bit. We're moved, cleanse the palate a little bit as we continue listening to these extraordinary women.
Yay! Wonderful to be here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for for celebrating. These marking of time moments, and it's beautiful. So beautiful to be here. So. Yes, like Jess, I had intended to do some movement. It often, I find myself on these Zoom conversations with, as I shared with someone recently, a sore ass. So we're going to get up and shake the ass a little bit, but I'm doing it in a little bit of a different way. So bear with me with the technology for a moment. This should work. I usually do it when I'm a host, but I'll just double check it's going to work even though I'm not a host. So I'll be 1 second here. And let me see, let me know if this, where's that? Come on. Okay, let's see. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, so the invitation is to get up or sit down, however you like, but to let the music move you. And for 2 or 3 minutes, to let the music move you and to let all that we're hearing move through you and with you in your body, in your spirit, in your soul, because this is very rich, this sharing. So yeah, enjoy this 2 or 3 moments of being with music, your body, your spirit, and everyone else's.
She's got it.
where the song just...
That's right, a little bit of a groove.
Thank you for the dance break. So Johanna, why don't you share about you and what you spoke about?
Yeah, pause.
All that jazz.
Pardon me. Yes, okay, let's do that.
Hey, hey, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
You sound happy and healthy, so that's good.
Yes.
Yes. So, sorry, Eduardo, the invitation was for me to share now?
Yeah, for you to share now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's go. Lovely to be here. I hope that, yeah, the music moves you and moves the energy within you. So my talk was about movement and the body, my experience of coming into my body. And in fact, when I came into the Fearless process, I came in really because Deb's an old friend, and I was helping get it, initiating it here, and I didn't really know what story I was going to tell. And then when I stepped in, of course, when we step into our stories, this story, those deep stories that have formed you emerge. And so a deep story for me about shame and coming to terms with shame and how it impacted me and my body and my voice in my life emerged. And yeah, it was very powerful to be with that story again. It's not that I haven't been with it before. And I was surprised again when I stepped in that, this story is still here. It still needs to be told. And so that was very powerful for me in terms of grounding deeper into myself and making a connection to why I am so committed to the work that I do, which is about bringing the body and movement and play and story into our communication. So my company name is called Moving Communication, and I do a lot of work coaching people, teams, leadership about, and I use that as a methodology to let things emerge, to let insights illuminate, to let energy, spirit, thoughts, feelings move. And yeah, so since doing the talk, I've done that a lot with different companies and teams. And I guess one of the breakthroughs was I've often held back because it's so different. It's a move away from rationality and logic and words and into spontaneity and the unknown expression of movement. But I dared to put in a proposal for this team recently, and it was accepted, and it's been absolutely fascinating working with this team in this way, solely committed to this without defaulting into just more theories about life, about being in the moment and meeting each other in that, and the glory of that. Yes, sir, that's me.
So yummy. And I want to acknowledge, there's a saying that Johanna brought to us in Fearless Force 8 that has now traveled to everyone, which is the knowledge is only rumor until it lives in the muscle. So know that we say that in every group, and that you were the root of transmitting that knowledge to us, and that has reverberated in every program since your program, Johanna.
Great. And I'll acknowledge the tribe in Papua New Guinea who actually spoke that statement.
Yes.
That I have absorbed and passed on to you. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Up next, we have Jessica Robinson.
Wow. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Good. Well, it's wonderful to be here. Just an incredible gift to see women in the community and some women I know, some women I don't know. This has been amazing. I'm a cybersecurity expert with a different approach. I work with CEOs and C-level executives to really support them in building strong programs and within their organizations, but also helping them to meet their business objectives. And so for me, with this talk with Eduardo and Deb in the community, for me, it was really about the essence of the work. For me, this is a calling. I knew that this was the work I wanted to do, security in itself, ever since I was a kid. I truly feel I've done this work in previous lives, just this idea of protecting and thinking about security in different perspectives, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, socially, all of the ways that it matters for us to live the life that we want and to be able to be fulfilled and have our needs met. And so for me, this is about love at its essence and at its core. And so this opportunity and time with the Fearless community was wonderful to just focus on giving voice to what does it really mean to create a consciously secure world, but also what does it really mean in this vision of creating containers of love and safety in businesses and communities around the world. And I think for all of you, and just hearing many of you speak tonight, I can speak for myself in saying this, that we teach what we most need. And I can say that I have felt so not safe in so many parts of my life, aspects of my life, personally and professionally. And so for me, in kind of really responding to this calling and creating this business has really been about even doing the work that we're doing now in this crisis of meeting people where they are and really helping them to live a more consciously secure life and really embedding security into all aspects of their life, digitally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, however that is most important for them. And so I feel really grateful for the opportunity to do this share and to do this talk. And I'm also thankful of the relationships and partnerships that have come out of it. And I too feel very much in part of the Jen Grace community and have been a part of the groups that she has. And I'm very thankful to be at a point where I'm ready to put the work that I'm doing into a book. And I'm grateful for so many of you that have really been with me on this journey and have really been supporting me and really kind of birthing this really new vision, this more feminine vision of safety and security and love in the world. So thank you.
Yes. And Jessica, we now always honor you and acknowledge that what we create here is a container of safety and love. And we've been saying that since your program, and we always acknowledge that you're the originator of that concept.
Thank you.
So up next we have Steph Houle, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Hello, everyone. I just love you all and Eduardo and Deb so much, and I'm so thankful and touched by the work that you do. So just want to say thank you. So my talk initially started as all the ways that I'm creative. I have a background in acting and writing, and I'm a graphic design professional, and I have painting in my background. And so that's how it kind of started out. And then I realized on the second day that the real truth of my talk was that I was carrying shame around with me for my whole life. I grew up with a bipolar mother. There was a point where I had to be in a foster home twice because she was unable to care for me. And then when I left her, I moved in with my dad, who had two mail order brides from the Philippines. The first he married when I was 6, and they divorced when I was 16, and then he remarried a second one when I was 18 or 19. And so that really shaped my life. And so I carried this burden along with me for most of my life, and I used my art to express my feelings. And really, this work has helped me to step into my power. I would say I've had the most transformational year of my life in the last year. And the real theme of my work was that everyone's creative, and that out of nothing, you can create anything. So in the last, I would say 6 months, I've seen everything that I thought I attached myself to, like my relationship and my job, just sort of crumble to the ground. And I just feel so much love and possibility. And I'm reinventing myself and just going really deeper to see what my life's about. And really connecting with my inner child. And I am looking into taking on the challenge of Jen's writing challenge and just continuously connecting more and more with this powerful community.
Yes. Stephanie Houle is also the creative who's behind all of the visual branding that you see for Fearless Communicators, including all the handouts that we have, like all of that visual stuff Steph has been by our side since the very beginning. So very special shout out to you, Steph, in the ways that you support us. All of your fearless Instagram pictures, she knows who all of you are. She's designed all of those, all the ones that go on Instagram. That is Steph. Up next, we have Kristen Scanlon. I'm gonna move. Oh, there you are. Okay, great.
Sorry, I had to someone just called me, but hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here and I love the energy. Honestly, I needed to be supported by powerful women who are doing great things. And a little bit about me, I'm a real estate agent in Queens, Brooklyn, and Long Island, but my passion is really in helping others and giving back. So I've been finding a lot of ways to give back throughout this time. But my speech really was something I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was going to speak about, and it was kind of scary for me. But what I learned, which is also helping me, is I was a little girl who used to have everything figured out. I needed to know what I was doing, when I was doing it. I had to have the perfect body, the perfect relationship, the perfect success story. And through this process, I realized I really didn't have to have it all figured out. I could evolve as I could evolve. And at that time, I was hosting an event called Empower Hour, which I'm working on ways to bring something similar back to life virtually through, just knowing we all need it. But I think not having to have it all figured out is really something that's helping me during this very trying time where I don't know what's next. I have a lot of deals that are falling apart. Some are getting put back together, and I'm just not stressing it out. I'm leaning into progress and not worrying about the perfection.
Thank you so much.
That's where
I am. Yes. Up next, we have Angie from Fearless Force 19 on pause, San Francisco.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I am very honored to be here. I know Kiana was just here and left. There was 4 of us in Circle 19, and we definitely had this really interesting COVID-19 experience, as Eduardo said, because we were ready to project our voices, and then we kind of went into ourselves. But the good news is we did actually do our talks for each other, and we had a beautiful experience of that. And so, as Eduardo and Deborah said, they birthed our stories. I was fortunate enough, I'm a good friend of Deirdre's who was in the first program, and she had told me how much she'd appreciated it, and I was able to see 2 different circles read out. And the last one I was, in September, I was inspired to sign up to the program because I just wanted to be like the woman I saw. I wanted to be able to be authentic and truthful and fearless, and all the things that I think are in my personality, but were certainly not in my voice. And so I completely surprised myself. I had no plans for what my story would be. And my story ended up being a love story. And my story is about how love manifests itself for me, specifically through the love of my father, who I lost 9 months ago. And I found a way to express my grief and honor him and all the beings I'd loved, including the dogs that I've loved. But through that experience, I found a way to handle my grief. And it was the first time I could actually talk about the sadness I felt, but just the memory I felt of the unspoken love. I'm Scottish, and we definitely don't talk about and don't say I love you the way other countries and nations do. Since then, the changes for me have been really interesting because I've now in day 53 of hibernation. And so the way I'm noticing I'm showing up is in a way that I want to make sure that I'm authentic. So it's been fantastic. I really appreciate this community, and everything's been amazing today. Thank you.
Yes. So up next, I'm going to introduce Eileen Flanagan and the Romanian Flanagans. And just a quick opportunity for you, one, to introduce yourself, and then also to speak about Girls on Fire leaders, and then also how the contributions of this community are going to serve your community in Nairobi.
Perfect.
Oh my Lord. So it was, as Jen Grace said, it was 1 year ago today. I walked through the fire. And without knowing it, fire played an important role in what I do in the world. So the organization that I founded 5 years ago is called Girls on Fire Leaders. And I thought it was because, you know, these young girls in Kenya, which I was working at the time, and grabbed my phone, and they loved the song and kept on singing it. And so I was like, okay, we'll name it that. So I had no idea it had anything to do with me. And the fire that I needed to walk through in order to show up in a way that I longed to show up in the world as a leader. Fearless Force, Eduardo and Deb gave me the gift, even though it didn't feel like it at the time, of walking through that fire on stage. And for the first time in 40 years, I did not abandon that 8-year-old girl that had that spark, that knew that even though she didn't know much, she didn't know the ways of the world, she knew she had something of value to contribute to the world. And that was my story. It was, I saw suffering for maybe the first time, and in my brain, I thought I had something of value to contribute. And the ecosystem around me, AKA adults, religion, things like that, shut it down. And that changed my worldview for 40 something years, 35 years. And so the speech was less about the content, to be honest, my speech, and it was more about standing in that fire of truth and having that regeneration process happen, but not knowing what it is, and knowing that it was ashes, like complete ashes. And I thought after I did it, I would feel better and things like that. And I had this whole somatic experience where my sacrum gave out and I couldn't walk for 2 weeks, which has never happened in my life. But what that also showed me was that I needed to pause in order to really see the value of this gift. And so what has happened since then is literally since May of last year, all the sticky points in Girls on Fire and running a nonprofit has gotten easier. Like everything has flowed. I have attracted the most amazing supporters, the most amazing champions, I have been asked to be part of the leadership of UN Women. I've asked to be part of speaking on South by Southwest stages, like things I thought were 5 years out, to be honest. I thought I would get myself ready for it and be 5 years out. So things came to me with ease. And so I'm walking through that. But yeah, so that was the story. But as far as, yeah, what was that?
No, just
what was that?
About, yeah, I think you were transitioning into the Girls on Fire Leaders.
So one thing I'm really proud of is that because Girls on Fire is small enough, and I've developed over 5 years relationships with community organizers, we're able to respond to COVID pretty quickly. So with your guys' support, which is so important, Girls on Fire, so 1,500 Girls on Fire, their families and their communities are all going to be fed for a month. And girls are stepping into their leadership within the community. So girls are the ones packaging food. One of the girls was going to do a leadership program, which was like a meditation program, empowerment program for youth in the slums. And so she has now transitioned that into like poster boards all over the slums. So girls are really taking this opportunity to, even though they're in severe survival mode, they have the foundation of self-love, of knowing that their voices matter, and knowing that, you know, that whatever they contribute is important to the world. So I just want to thank all of you. I'm so touched by your generosity. It means the world. And I'll continue to keep you updated. We're doing a ton around mamas and babies as well for Mother's Day. We're feeding 500 plus mamas and babies, and we're doing quite a bit. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Eileen. So with my best of intentions and efforts, you know, we're at 7 o'clock and we still have 13 more women to share who they are and what they're up to. So for those of you that can stay on, you know, we would love for you to be here and continue to hold space with us, and fully acknowledging that this is the point where we had said the conversation would end. So if you're able to stay, we're going to still hold space for the women that there are to share. I'm just so inspired and just wanted to acknowledge that. So with that, Deborah, up next is Danielle Christine Toussaint. Danielle Christine Toussaint.
Hello. It's all different time zones, so I'm not going to give any other greeting than just it's really great to be with all of you. Thank you for sharing. I was driving on a really back sort of mountain road up in Hudson Valley when Eduardo Placer called me, what would be about 3 days before I would have to go to New York City. And I was leaving Hudson Valley to drive back to Maryland, where I lived. So the thought of going back to New York again was not in the plans, but it seemed like it was absolutely the right thing to do, because the 2 trips that I would make over the next week would bring me into community with amazing women whose presence I can not really describe in words, but I can feel whenever we are in the same space with each other, whether it's virtually, as we experienced with Circle 13's lunch last week, or it's when we're in person. And I know that that's very much owed to the spirit with which this community is sewn together in its first place, which is through story. So I am a storyteller. I gave a speech on daring to think purple. And as was said earlier in this conversation, it was advice to myself. It was an opportunity for me to finally really ingest my own purple Kool-Aid and think deeply about what it meant to be courageous, to hold space for myself, and to keep doing the things that my 8-year-old self and my 16-year-old self and all of my selves before this have known to be true. So that's still the thing that I'm reminding myself of. And it was a gift to me that was completely unexpected when I picked up my phone that Sunday afternoon.
Yes. Danielle, before we transition to the next person, I just want to take a moment and I just want to acknowledge, you know, Danielle's father-in-law passed away because of COVID-19, you know, and just wanted to hold space for his spirit and honor him and honor who he was in the physical form, and also continuously in spiritual form for you and for your husband and for your family. Okay? Lots of love to you. Up next, we have, oh my gosh. Jenny Suyad.
If she's still here. She's still here?
I'm going to move to Jennifer Thayer. We'll go back to Jenny.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I participated in Fearless Force 16 in the Hudson Valley. I got the invite 5 days. I just had a really strong intuitive sense that it was something I had to do. And I went into it thinking that I was going to give a signature speech for my consulting practice. And I got into the weekend, and stuff just kept coming up, and I was not going to get personal because one does not get personal. And I got personal. And what it allowed me to do was to tie in my business practice to the blocks I had felt and a lot of the shame that I felt around the path that my life had taken. And so in the 6 months since doing that talk, I've started a new business. I built a website. I've launched it. I'm recording my first online class, and I'm starting to market it. And fits and starts, there are moments where the insecurity starts to take over and I shut down for a few days. It's still hard, but it's getting easier. I started a book. I'm only 1,000 words into my book, but I'm getting there. And the other gift of Fearless Force is that Sarita Winthrop and I found that we're cousins. So my son was at the talk, and he came up, he acknowledged me after the talk, and we were standing together afterwards, and Sarita came over and she said, "Young man, I want to thank you. I haven't had a good cry in a long time." And so we got talking, and so she, it's just been a gift to find this distant cousin now through Fearless Force. Thank you.
Up next, we have Charles Curry, Fearless Force 3.
Wait, I didn't know that I'm saying something. Like,
Very
hi,
good.
everybody.
Who you are, what you're up to, and your biggest breakthrough.
Okay,
Hold
who
on,
am I?
Charles, hold on. Morgan, we're going to do you quickly before you leave. And then Charles, we're going to go back to you. Morgan Olson.
Okay.
Sorry. So Morgan Olson, I was part of San Francisco Fearless Force. My talk was about an unsuccessful outcome of something planned, which is actually the definition of a miscarriage. I'm a self-certified kind of type A Uber planner, and that worked really well in my life and in my career because I get to work with a lot of founders and CEOs and their teams around how to plan for success in their business. But it was not working in my personal life. So my talk, which I did not plan to give, but was gently and forcefully nudged by Deb and Eduardo, was around a miscarriage I had last May, and how my kind of overzealous need to plan for everything had failed me, and how I needed to come up with a new type of plan that was really about pausing and listening and asking for help, and then nourishing kind of who I was as a human being. And so I would say I definitely was terrified to do Fearless Force. I'm so happy I did it. I'm so happy that I talked about something that I did not plan to do at all, or plan to talk about, of course. And then I'd say the biggest breakthrough for me since then, as kind of a type A control freak, has really been to give myself the space to walk away from perfection, both in myself and in holding others to that level, and to really allow things to just be. And I would say it's definitely served me well in our current circumstances, where there doesn't seem to be any plans. So I'm definitely thankful for this community of women, the people that came before me, Deb and Eduardo, and all that you are and all you're sharing here today.
And where were you prior to this, Morgan, just now?
Oh, so I was at I'm actually now 6 months pregnant. So I was at my 26-week appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Morgan. Charles Curry.
Yes, hi everybody. So my name is Charlotte. I live in New York. I have a Pilates studio for 20 years already. And when I came to Fearless Force to the weekend, I always thought, how do I speak about it must be done as designed or it doesn't work? And then actually, now that I think about it, Eduardo, because I heard somebody say that before, we teach what we must learn, right? And I realized I'm not even doing Fearless Force as designed, the 3 days, because everybody was starting to write their story, and I was walking around and asking questions and doing all kinds of stuff except for sitting down or doing something and come up with my story. So in the end, what we came up with was, or what I shared was my story, almost dying on a Greek island, and how I got to that, and how I got back to New York, and how I revived my life and really started from scratch, building my body, mind, and spirit from the start. And the underlying theme that came out of that is really doing things as designed. Now that we're in COVID-19, we're inside, we're in shelter in place, I have no choice but to sit down and really see like what's going on with my life. What do I want to do? What am I creating for the future, for my business and for my life? And I've been going this last few days through all of my letters that I've kept from my father who has died, from grandparents, from all of those people. And I noticed that I'm so loved and that I have a purpose in life, which is to have everyone in the world achieve complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And that's what I'm now creating from my home. And it's just fantastic. And I'm designing my own approach that is appropriate for now or standing in the future for all of us to be able to achieve that. And it's just so fantastic. Just by being vulnerable and not being able to walk away. And I was really thinking, like, this is like when Eduardo sat me down, he's like, come on, lady, sit and deal with it. Like, don't distract yourself.
So beautiful.
So,
thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Yes. Kristen Haywood, Fearless Force Sydney.
Hello, everyone. Gosh, it's about a year ago now. Yes, just over a year ago that I came out of the closet as the gift spotter. Not long after that, there was something holding me back, and it was really my lifestyle. So not long after that, I had a total breakdown / breakthrough, and gave up drinking alcohol and unhealthy habits, and well, I had a spiritual intervention help me do that, because I totally surrendered one night and I got the help I needed the next day. In 5 months, wrote 82,000 words and faced my shadow, really. It was all about the soul work, about facing my shadow, things I didn't like about myself, and welcomed and felt my wounds instead of distracting myself away from it with a glass of wine and a packet of chips. So, and that's a year ago, and I have just started my gift spotter movement. And all I'm going to say really is this: you are uniquely gifted. Only the ego compares. As we are uniquely gifted. Everyone who is here on the earth is incredibly important. We all have a purpose. We all have the right body, the right sex, the right characteristics, archetypes to carry out that purpose. And what I'm on a mission to do is to help educate, because I'm a teacher, an educator, help educate everybody about the nature of their ego and help them identify when they're operating from ego, when they're operating from their authentic self. So that's what I've just begun, and I've got my first interview with Eduardo later.
Oh,
so yes, hello, gifted ones.
So good. Thank you so much, Kristen. So great to have you on the call. Up next, we have Dina Proto, Fearless Force 4, New York City.
New York City. I survived it.
Yes.
So I'm Dina Proto. I don't know what I thought I was going to do when I got there, but it wasn't what was the end result. I arrived in New York definitely broken and in need of healing. And we are just 2 years past that, and I'm definitely on that side. So I owe a lot to Eduardo and I'm Deborah. My talk was actually, I went because I thought I was going to be a public speaker, and I was looking to tell my story about how our identities form when we're between the ages of 3 and 5, and had the realization that mine did too, which I wrote about in my book. I just didn't know that I was going to actually talk about it. So I got to talk about how our identities form and the roles and gender roles that we are pushed to believe that we're supposed to follow. And I actually ended up telling somebody that I had a crush on from the time I was 5 years old as a result of that. And it was wonderful and cathartic. And I do speak and I do healthcare consulting, and I love it. So it's not what I thought it was going to be, but it's all good.
Dina, are you still currently a healthcare professional?
I am. I'm still a registered nurse
So
for a lot of years.
For a moment to acknowledge, who you are as a healthcare professional, and I know you and all the people in your community who are on the front line of COVID-19, just a space to honor you and who you are and the way that you show up on the front line of this with humanity, and also respect for all people and how all human beings show up, no matter their identity, to make sure that they get the care that they need. So thank you for that, Dina. Yes. Up next, we have Mira Meggs.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Hi, I'm Mira Meggs. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So let's see, who am I? I am someone who has been talking about our relationship with money for 20 years. I was a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley in 2001, and that has transformed into becoming a psychologist, the psychology of money, creating money coaching programs, and now leading big groups, and really being a part of the movement of the next sacred economy, and what is this next financial paradigm going to look like for us individuals internally and collectively. What my talk was about was, well, during the classroom, what came up when Eduardo held up the color purple as my chance to speak. Oh, look, I'm wearing purple today, and I never do. That's funny. I felt totally confined and limited. And I didn't ignore that feeling. And I went into an experience of processing a very repressed memory of being trapped and imprisoned, and whether it was a past life or a, memory or dream or whatever, however we want to look at it, I went into a deep process all weekend. And I moved to the next stage in my talk. And what I shared in my talk was about something. I went on a vision quest 3 or 4 years ago. And I came out with the knowledge of certain things in my life were not okay with me. And it was like the beginning of this. I am not just here to emit love. I'm actually also here to take care of myself. And I'm also here to be rooted into the earth. And I'm also here to be standing in what works for me. And my talk was about sharing my journey of letting go of everything that was not okay with me, from a relationship to business partners to eating meat. And I ended my talk that my bank was not okay with me, and it was Chase Bank. And I had broken up with and started a campaign called #BreakUpWithYourBank. And I lovingly and in kindness completed my relationship with Chase Bank. And I invited the audience to reflect on what in their life wasn't okay with them. And we stood up at the end saying, "This is not okay with me." And where I am today with it, and it's really like fresh, like the last couple weeks, I've been really anchoring because I'm leading a workshop online around this tomorrow. And it's moving from like things not being okay with me to being with what is and not making any meaning about it. And from a place of no meaning, just what is, being an empowered choice, whether that's around finances or relationship or life choices. And so I'm still working that out, and I'm teaching it because I'm learning it. So I'm actually giving a workshop tomorrow online called Quantum Money. It's free, and it's all about being with the what's so of our finances as a place of power to go forward.
And if you can share that in the WhatsApp group, the majority of the women are in the WhatsApp group, so they can get that now that they're related to you and what you're up to. Okay, up next we have Siobhan. Yes, Elevated Spirit Relish. Is Siobhan?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm really inspired to hear from all of you. The stories have been phenomenal. So by day, I'm a digital transformation and strategy consultant. I'm also working as a psychic medium and intuitive consultant, which is sort of my passion and hopefully my business very soon. So my talk was about my life and how I sort of took I have a different path than a lot of other people, and spent most of my life as a people pleaser and perfectionist. And that really manifested in a way that I had armor all around me and couldn't connect with my emotions or my voice, and also not my truth of how I wanted to show up in the world. And all of that sort of came to a head when I was on the Olympic stage, and I had a very humbling and heartbreaking experience, which really left a dent in that armor for me, and made me reflect on who I am and how I looked at myself, and it changed a lot of relationships in my life and sort of the trajectory. And the three questions that sort of emerged from that for me were who I am, what do I feel, and what do I desire? And by going through this healing process, I uncovered my psychic abilities and really also got in touch with my more feminine energy as well, since I lived most of my sort of up until my up until I turned like 28, 29, in my masculine and trying to chase that outward success. And basically the culmination of all of that was that I realized that I was becoming a woman in total conscious healing, which stands for witch. So Eduardo and
she is a witch.
Yes, encouraged me to step out of the spiritual closet and declare that, which has been very freeing. And what's come of it is that I am working on my book titled Witch. So women in total conscious healing. So I'm excited about that.
So yummy. Thank you, Siobhan. Okay, up next we have Lillian Rodriguez-Pang. Are you able to join us, Lillian?
Here we go. Hello, everyone. I am here with my people. So I was part of the Sydney cohort, thanks to a connection with Johanna, Beautifulness. I gave my talk on having grown up and being surrounded and impacted by mental unwellness, mental illness. My father had paranoid schizophrenia. My brother and closest friend developed the same. And I have a younger brother who has his own journey as well, and who is an ice addict. And this is his daughter, who we have taken on full time now. She is amazing and beautiful. So a lot of my talk was about taking the theatre game, yes, and applying it to your own personal mental conversation and life. And what I had found myself doing in the past was being a very yes person. I would say yes and surrender to so many aspects of life, because when everything is unpredictable, you tend to flow. So I was very good at that, but that also lent itself into my own journey with mental unwellness and with difficulties and processing grief and the everyday. So the talk was about embracing the yes and making sure that there is a real internal focus on the end, that yes, we can say yes a lot, and the building from that, accepting and building upon that is a bit of a key to my wellness now, and to saying yes to all sorts of love that enters your life, which we have done. This is my number 4 now. So that's that. In terms of what I'm proudest of or achievements since then, I'm very proud to have my family accept love as a basis for behaviour, and this little one being part of that is significant. I am proud. I am a storyteller and theatre maker. I have started a theatre show that has taken off in its own power, which is great, called The Church of the Clitori. So we celebrate all things female, feminine. We worship ourselves. We have lessons in worshiping ourselves. We dance and do liturgy to the clitoris and the vulva, and it has some amazing puppetry sections as well, which I will leave to your imagination. But we do an online blessing once a month at the moment.
Please let us know so that we can all worship the clitoris together. I think there will be international worship.
Okay. Well, I will do. I think this talk has made me, in terms of isolation, that's something I do very, very well. And we're now in 8 weeks of isolation, and life is busy with 4 kids. And I have just realized that I have again surrendered rather than built upon. And I'm starting to think, when I came to the talk, Eduardo, we talked about a part B, which was looking at the aspects that being someone who has grown up with mental illness all around me, I have a unique perspective on empathy and what difference is. And so I think I need to go back there. I had started a blog on what are the positives and empowering parts of being a child who has grown up in a home with mental illness. And we had 3 or 4 contributors ready to go, and I think I need to go back there. So thank you everyone for inspiring me back to action and back to parts of myself that I need to continue to share with the world.
Thank you. Jacqueline Romano.
Hello.
We have one more
Can you
person.
hear me?
We have one more woman to share after Jacqueline. We have one more woman. We're almost there. Ladies, thank you. And gentlemen, thank you for staying in as long as you have. Jacqueline Romano, my darling.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Jacqueline. I was part of Fearless Force Circle 15 in San Francisco, but I'm on the East Coast. And I'm a documentary filmmaker and co-founder and editor of blindfoldmag.com. We share stories of activists, advocates, and educators who are doing work to reveal the truth surrounding global issues and doing things to make things right in the world. So my talk was about my experiences with on sexual assault and physical abuse.
Jacqueline? Jacqueline?
Yeah.
You cut out for a second. So if you can just it's so interesting that where you cut off. So what was it that you spoke about? Just to give you full space to share that and that we can hear.
Okay. So my talk was on feeling safer to stay unseen and unsafe to share my story on sexual assault and physical abuse. I had actually reported one of my abusers for the first time the year prior to telling my story on stage with Fearless Force. And I hadn't shared any of, or reported any of my abuses in fear that no one would believe me. And it ended up that in my case, they decided not to move forward because there wasn't enough evidence. So I told that story and connected it to the documentary film that I just completed, that I've been working on for 4 years, on the story of activists and researchers who are fighting to help this population of boys in Thailand who are being trafficked, exploited, and abused in the sex tourism industry of Thailand. And all of the backlash and walls that they're up against in doing that, and how similar my past was with the boys and staying safe, feeling safer to stay unseen and unsafe to share my story. So it was actually a breakthrough, I would say, from doing the talk. Was I I had started telling that story just because I felt very strongly that I needed to use my tool to share what they're going through and raise awareness for the issue and use this film as a tool for policy change. But in doing the speech, I realized that my experiences had given me clarity on how I can be conscious in the way that I do share their story. And so that was a big deal.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And Jacqueline is also the videographer of a mini film around Fearless Communicators, which we've been sharing. So if you haven't seen that yet, just stay tuned for that. Just know that Jacqueline is the filmmaker behind that. So thank you so much for that, Jacqueline. Beautiful, beautiful work. In your mini docs or your documentaries, as we call them. So before we close, I just want to acknowledge that there are 3 people still on this call who were not participants in the program. One is Tony Dolce, who's been our videographer and basically the eyes in capturing the stories of all our New York programs since Fearless Force 4. And just want to create a space for you to just share for you what you've witnessed and what you've shared, your experience, just to give voice to you on this call as well, Tony.
Well, thank you, Eduardo, and hello to all of you gorgeous women. I just wanted to say that from the back of a lens and sort of seeing you on stage and participating, it's a shared space where we're sort of all in this each time. We're participants, like me as a media producer, but also me as a woman who's listening to your story and an audience member, right? So I just want to acknowledge all the bravery and all of the vulnerability and commitment to the process. And also to you, Eduardo, and to Deb, and to Linda, and your whole team at Fearless Communicators over the past 3 years and change. I've been a part of this, and it's amazing to see the growth, amazing to see the network of amazing women that you've assembled and that are able to showcase your talents and then infuse them with the power to deliver something inside of them, the story that's within them. So it's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with you, your team, and also all of you and all the women that had to jump off the call before. Yeah, so it's great. And just as like a quick plug for us, although we are videographers for Fearless Communicators, our company is Purple Critter Media, and we create high-end video content, ad content, audio content, and photography as a supplement to the audio and visual. So we're a full editing studio. If anybody needs stuff right now, we're still fully operational from a editing standpoint. So thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you so much for being here as well. Yes. I also want to acknowledge the 2 gay men who have, the 3 gay men who've held space for all of our fierce women, myself, but also Brian McCormick, who attended one of our Fearless Force programs. So I'm going to have you share, and then Ben Peltison, who's had the privilege to be the only other man to facilitate a Fearless Force program. He co-facilitated the first Fearless Force program, and he also co-facilitated Fearless Force 5. And then we're going to finish up with Emily Shane. So Brian, just some words to share. Thank you so much for being here for this entire call. It's just such a joy.
Absolutely. Well, some of you may have seen in the chat, I want to say thank you to all of you for allowing me into your space. I love that Eduardo has made a safe space and to champion women and allow you to share your stories. And I'm so grateful to be here and to have heard so many of you, such an amazing group of women. And part of the reason I wanted to be here is because several of the women on the call today are friends of mine and people I love, Jen T. Grace and Allison Davis and Surby and Deborah, and I'm sure I'm missing someone, and I just met Dina recently. So, really just, I'm really grateful for this community. And also in the work that I do as an inclusion and diversity consultant, one of my commitments is to be an advocate for people of color, and another is to be an advocate and an ally to women. So these opportunities are so important for me to understand your stories and your lived experiences so I can do the work that I do. So thank you so much. And I should do a plug that Eduardo will be joining me tomorrow on my first live event. So feel free to join us if you want to hear more about your fearless leader here, Eduardo. But thank you all for letting me be here.
And we'll share that information with them too as well, Brian. Thank you. So Benjamin Peltison, Queen, Cow, hi.
Hey. Hey. I'm giving you such big Lyle Lovett hair right now. I did some self-hair care.
Yes.
It's challenging. Hi, everyone. I just want to share that for me, it's been like such a joy every time I come to one of these events, mainly because, you know, for all of you, it's an exercise in talking, and for me, it's an exercise in really listening closely to women, which who always have something interesting to say, and always have something fascinating to reveal. So thank you for letting me hear you tonight and in the past. And I can't wait until the next time.
Yes, thank you, Ben. And I just want to acknowledge, Ben was my roommate back in 2016. And Ben and I were both actors at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival together. And we both toured in a school visit program where we took Shakespeare and theater to middle schools and high schools in the Seattle-Tacoma area in a winter term. And when I was in the moment of, you know, doing the first Fearless Force program, which had 8 women, I knew that I couldn't do it alone. And one person who I trusted inherently to join me in the shepherding and honoring these women and their stories was Ben. So Ben, I'm just so grateful that you were there with me for the first one, that you partnered with us for the 5th. We realized in the 5th one that it does not work for 2 gay men to facilitate a women's program. 2 gay men does not equal a woman, you know, so we are very clear that will never happen again. And there are various other ways where Ben has shown up to be a facilitator for Fearless Communicators and continuing to showcase his work and his storytelling ability. And with that, I want to pass it on to Emily Shane, who is another Fearless Force facilitator in training, who participated in Fearless Force 18 in New York. And what we're going to do is she's going to share very quickly about what she spoke about, and then she's going to wrap us up, and she's going to share with us a poem as our kind of close together. So if you are able to be on video for this last moment, it would be great to see the people who are able to be on video, fully knowing that, you know, we've gone a full 40 minutes over our time. So Emily, take it away.
I just feel so full hearing all of you. And I, like so many of you, feel like Fearless Communicators, Deb, Eduardo came to me at the right time in my life. And this speaking the truth feels so radical. Like I feel vibrations all over my body when I'm at these events and when I'm in a space where all of you are saying the scary, big, real things. So I am a professional actor. I spent a lot of time speaking other people's words, and I felt so vulnerable standing where so many of you have stood before and saying something that scared me and felt like it cost me something, and I knew it was important to share with others. So I spoke about how my fear of losing people that I love, has inhibited the way that I can love them in the present moment. And that feels really right now in this time in life, this fragility of life and how we have to go for it anyway, and that nothing is permanent and we should just throw our hearts and guts at what we got. So I closed my piece quoting a bit of this poem from Mary Oliver, which is titled When Death Comes. And I'm going to read it and share it with all of you because I'm hoping it resonates. So this is from Mary Oliver, When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn,
When death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measlepox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. To Mary Oliver. Thank you, Eduardo.
Yes. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing your voice and sharing those words. I'm so moved by all of you. And as we were thinking about how we were going to end this, I thought of these words that she shared in her talk. And I thought of us fearless communicators as brides and bridegrooms of all of your amazement, of all of the ways in which you are amazing on this planet. We have the privilege to stand by you forever and serve you in your amazingness, in how you show up to serve the planet. We are so grateful for you. This is just the beginning. I'm looking forward to Fearless Force 100, and that epic celebration of goddess women, who continue to step through the fire to share their truth. Until then, we'll continue to hold space and be your doulas and honor and cherish and acknowledge every way in which you show up on this planet. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And Eduardo, from all of us in the Fearless community, thank you, our most beloved story doula and my forever Mr. Fearless.
Yeah.
We love you. We love you so much. Thank you.
So we are now fully 42 minutes over the time. We will continue to keep the space open. So if people do want to share and talk and continue to be present and just be in communication, you're welcome to. We will continue to hold the space if you've got to go. We totally get that you got to go. Johanna de Ruyter.
Yes, I just wanted to offer just a little something because it's been so rich and I'm so moved and I'm so full of emotion and inspiration and memory and story. And I just wanted a short close that I thought there's something about connecting with each other. There's a little exercise I wanted to offer where we just call out each other's, one at a time, we call out someone and say, I see you, thank you. And we can just go around because we're a smaller group now as a way to actually speak to each other to close.
Great.
How does that sound?
That sounds beautiful.
Yep.
Johanna, would you like?
So
yeah.
Yeah, I'll start and I'll say, Deborah, I see you and thank you. And you say, call out someone else. You can call out someone else.
I see you and I thank you.
Cheryl Curry, I see you as I saw you tonight in my speech, and I thank you.
So we have to unmute ourselves.
Yes, sorry.
That's
slow.
okay.
Angie, I see you and I thank you.
Thank you. Sarita, I see you and I thank you.
Thank you.
And I see you, Jennifer Thayer, and I thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Brian McCormick, oh, there's no R, sorry. I see you because we always need male allies. Bless you.
Thank you. Jacqueline Romano, I loved getting a chance to hear you recently. I see you and I hear you. Oh.
You're on mute, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Brian. Jen Grace, I see you and I thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Flanagan, I see you and thank you.
Valerie Lyons, I see you and I thank you.
Jessica Robinson, I see you and I thank you.
Let's see, Emily, I see you and I thank you.
Kate Ekman, I see you and I thank you.
She may not be there,
Vaughn,
but we still see her.
And I thank you.
Thank you. Who's left? I don't see it on my screen.
Put up your hand if you haven't.
And Chrissy Samios and myself.
Christina and then Mr. Fearless are left.
She's muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Eduardo, I hear you and I see you.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Witch.
Has anyone not been acknowledged?
Yes, Chrissy.
Jessica.
Chrissy Samuel. I see you. I thank you. Hot fucking pizza.
Thank you. I see you all, and I thank you all. You are all hot pizza.
Yeah. Johanna, thank you so much for that. That was such a beautiful close.
Yeah.
Just the right.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that in.
Yeah.
And Rita, as our elder, are we complete?
I think we are. It's been a wonderful banquet. Thank you all so much. Amen to what everybody said. It's terrific.
Man. Oh, hold on one second. Wait. Oh, wait. What is the? Ooh. Oh my gosh. Just wanted to share.
What are you doing?
Hold on. Oh. So I just wanted to share, we're going to say this on the call. So Deborah, the total that was raised for the two nonprofits.
You want me to tell you?
$1,340, right? And Fearless Communicators is going to take it up to $2,000. So each nonprofit is going to get $1,000 in the way that they're showing up in service on the planet. So thank you so much for who you are and what you do. And yes, and
Eduardo.
So
can I just share really quick? That also will be matched by one of my partners.
Yes.
And guess what partner it is?
Who?
Essential Oils, doTERRA.
doTERRA, yes, essential oils. Lavender.
So they're matching any donations that come in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. If you do feel inspired and if you want to give, you can also Venmo me and we'll make sure that it goes to the charity if you feel inspired to share more. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, I love you all. Emily,
so much love.
Genty Grace. Oh my God. So yummy.
Yes.
Yes. Johanna de Ruyter, we love you.
Yes.
Fearless Publishing.
Yes.
Barbados in the Caribbean, giving Caribbean realness. Yes. Flanagan, wherever you are in the world. Jacqueline, are you in Tennessee still? Is that where you are?
I'm now in Savannah, Georgia.
Wow, you're making your way. You're making your way down south. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarita, I request you shower us with mother's love. Yeah. Mother's love.
I will receive that.
We've all got to hug the screen now.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.